all the stuff you hear about the other domestic terrorists, we know these guys are about that life. But continue.
Yeah, again, going back to FBI, CIA. I mean, I think the FBI director talked about white nationalists being the biggest threat to national security. So you have all of this intelligence, and you don't act upon it, and you don't prepare for it. And then we go into the whole, as they press forward, you've got folks just kind of letting them go. And I get it. I understand tactics. I understand I'm not jumping into a fray with 10 guys and one officer. I ain't trying to jump in and try to stop them. I'm gonna fall back till I get some support. Got it. I understand. So like the joke about the black guy running up the stairs, calling his location. I'm like, that actually was textbook what he should have done, in my opinion. Like that's what I would have trained my soldiers to do. You're not taking over, or you're not gonna hold off 10, 12 guys trying to advance at you. So I get it. I mean, I understand the jokes of all of it, but if you've never been in those types of situations, I don't want to hear it. Like, and so I have been really, really kind of going off on some of my friends and stuff like that are trying to make jokes about it. And I'm like, you got to be in those situations to understand what they're going through in that. So my hat's off to the Capitol Police. Truthfully, the people, the officers that were on the ground, they were holding their own, they were doing all they can. Now I tip my hat. But at the same time, I look at it like I saw a lot of white officers that were buddy jokey with these folks, and so I'm just gonna call it out because I know Byron might not be able to. So I don't appreciate that, because my thing is that's some bull. You can't be buddy jokey with the guy who's actually advancing on your position. And I read an article I think today where like an officer was saying, y'all over there laughing and joking, and I'm getting my ass booked on the other side of the Capitol. Like,
yeah,
hey, something's not right there. So it's just so much, man.
We'll let Buff jump in because I want to see what you say, and then we'll follow up with that.
All right. So your question is how what? I think your question was how
this happen?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, and it's almost.
I'm
yeah,
got a lot of bleep that one out.
Nah, bro, look, this gonna be our one, bro. This gonna be our one, bro. Just let it roll.
I have to put the explicit.
Yeah.
So I can only be so specific, but here's what I'll say. How could it happen? So you mentioned how the Proud Boys said, we're here to take over. We're coming in. I will say, previous protests and demonstrations, you will have similar talk like that from time to time, and nothing nowhere near like it happens. I remember on the Looting is Bad episode, I was telling you how we'll get intel that 10,000 people are coming, and then only 100 show up. So I will say a lot of times we will get intel, and I wouldn't even call it intel, just social media posts where, the people saying what they're going to do, this is what we're here to do, and then they get there, they don't do anything close to it. So whether or not my department took it that way or the other way, I can't speak on. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't involved in the planning phase of it. As far as support, I've been hearing so many conflicting stories. Like one story I'm hearing is that Trump denied the Department of Defense to send the National Guard there. And the only reason the National Guard came was because Vice President Pence wound up making the call. But Trump, I saw that he thought about sending the National Guard to protect his people on their way from the White House to the Capitol, but not about sending them to help us. But I also have heard that the Capitol turned down these resources, and I'm not saying anything that's a secret. That's been reported that's been spoken by the mayor of DC, Muriel Bowser, and other people. Other agencies have said that we turned down their help. So I don't know what's true on that. Also, the main thing I want to talk about is I think there was a lot of indecision on whether or not this is a shoot or don't shoot situation, because we train for armed people coming with long guns or whatever, or guns. We train for that. That's a shoot situation. There's not a lot of we've never really addressed because I did see a picture of a guy in the building with a gun, but for the most part, unarmed people but just a lot of them trying to get in. And we have spoken, I want to talk to black people for a minute on this one, because we have spoken so many times about how you shouldn't kill somebody over property damage. Like when we talk about riots, the George Floyd riots and everything, like that's not a shoot situation, because life is more precious than property. We had the argument on, I don't care if they're setting buildings on fire, life is more precious. And so to the side that chose not to shoot, to them it's like, I'm not about to shoot these people over some windows and doors of a building. I'm not about to shoot them because they're putting their feet up on the speaker's desk or whatever like that. But then you have another side that says, well, we have very, very important people in this building. They're breaking in. They're not breaking in to take selfies with the vice president or the vice president elect. They're coming here to harm them. Therefore, I need to use deadly force. In the military, and you guys can definitely correct me on this, I think you guys have more of a clear rules of engagement policy versus not only police, but specifically us. Because it wasn't, I don't think it was clear that day. So I want to speak more on that too, because a lot of black people have had a lot to say about it. And it's like, I saw the meme where, and I agree with this meme, where it says, we're not asking you to shoot them like you shoot us. We're asking you to not shoot us like you don't shoot them. But then those same people were saying how we should have shot them. And you know what I mean? Or they were saying, well, if it was black people, then we would have shot them. And so, okay, let's take that out for a minute. Let's take race out of it for a moment. Well, no, let's keep it in. Let's keep it in. Let's say it was Black Lives Matter storming the building, doing the exact same thing they did. Those same black people would not be saying, if we, and I know that the thought is, well, you guys wouldn't have behaved the same way. You guys would have been more aggressive. Let's say we did. Let's say we did everything just how you saw this past Wednesday, but it's Black Lives Matter. Would these same black people be wishing we had shot them? So we got to be consistent on our answers too. Do you want people shot for breaking windows and doors or not?
Yeah, I that's a great point. I wholeheartedly agree. I've had this debate with several people, and I mean, even one of the things I said was about, I think one of my biggest defenses was, and if you ever needed to de-escalate, this was the time. Simply because I could only imagine being in that scenario. You guys were outnumbered, what, 1 to 10 at least?
Yeah, I don't know what the count was on those people, but severely outnumbered, bro.
And once again, my interpretation of these people is they're about that life. This is what they've been waiting on. We don't know how many people were armed.
I mean, some, but you also had the folks in wheelchairs.
Yeah,
yeah. I want to know how they stormed the Capitol in wheelchairs. But
yeah, they were already there. But no, my thing is like, because one of the posts I saw was hide your guns. This is how you hide. Like,
I saw that one.
10% of them can have been armed. 20% of them. We don't know. We don't know how many people were armed. We don't know if it was just if this was a ploy or a tactic to see, this was a farce. This was just a good way to see how far they can go and mark entries, or I don't know. But my whole thing was like, what happens when they start shooting? Because if they would have got overran, we've seen it. We've seen people. We've seen movies. We've seen it all happen. They got one person with a gun shooting at 1,000 people. He might hit 2. He might hit 3. Mm-hmm. And now we're saying, oh, he shot 3 people. Great. That did a lot of good.
Right. And that's why I chuckle at the people who criticize the guy that ran up the stairs. Like, man, did he forget he had a gun on his hip? He should have shot him. Like, it's at least 20 or 30 people there. And like you say, yeah, he may have hit 2 or 3 of them. But once the rest of the mob gets a hold of him and take his gun, then what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Oh, but shout out to old boy with the no look,
that was
pepper
hilarious.
spray. The no look pepper spray was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought that was me. That dude has hair. I don't have hair.
But
that was
I told you to tell him give him high five or something for me.
Yeah, dude. They had me rolling.
Hit you, bro.
Yo, that's hard. It's hard to like really spray because that wasn't like a real close pepper spray either. That was like, across the hall.
Yeah,
Like,